So let's start our evening with meditation. So if you will just get yourself in a comfortable position, your feet flat on the floor, the bottom of your spine up against the back of your chair. Let me do that while I'm telling you to do that. I'll do that myself. And then just close your eyes, and we're just going to go for a little walk, a little ride, a little bike ride, a little boat row down the river, a little kite flying. We're just going to go for a little trip. As you breathe in, gently through your nose, knowing that you're breathing in pure grace. You're breathing in the breath of God. This entire universe, everything solid and everything not solid, is all made up of one substance. That substance is the great presence of God. And you are one of the great presences of God. And as you breathe in this grace, as you breathe in this breath of the universe, and your body sorts the oxygen from the CO2 and sends the oxygen down to each of the cells in your body, and they become blessed and alive and enlightened and aware, because they then also are parts of God. Throughout your body, trillions and trillions of cells, each alive with its own consciousness, each alive with the consciousness of being one with the great presence. Each cell dedicated in service to you, as your body is dedicated in service to you. And as you feel the presence in your body, a tingling here or there, an itch, a vibration, a pressure, that's you inside your body. Your body would have no sensation if it were not for you inside of your body. And as you breathe in, gently, gently, gently through your nose, and allow your lungs to expand, and hold that breath for a bit. And then when it's comfortable, just relax and let it flow out. And only when it's comfortable again, to breathe back in again, another beautiful breath of pure grace. And let it heal every cell in your body. Let it relax every fiber, every muscle, every tissue in your body relaxed. Knowing that you, not your body, but you are eternal, as is all things in their spiritual nature. All things are eternal. Nothing was ever created and nothing will ever die. the Spirit, the great presence of God, of Holy Spirit, of Great Spirit, is permanent. In you as you, in me as me, in us as us. You can rise up now and allow your spirit to go above the top of your head into your higher mind, about 6 inches above the top of your head. Just keep your thoughts and your mind and your consciousness there in your higher mind. Not hard to do. Don't make it hard. Real easy. Just put your consciousness above the top of your head. And in this place, you are connected directly to eternity and to the great presence. In this place, you are pure spirit. In your higher mind. And your higher mind is actually like a tree that grows out of the top of your head. It goes higher and higher, as high as you're willing to go. Higher and higher, as high as you're willing to go. And up here in your higher mind, you know that you are loved. You know that you are blessed. You know that you are safe. And you know that you are free. And not only are you loved and blessed and free, you are safe. You are safe. No less than the trees and the stars, you have a right to be here, and you are safe. And your body is completely well. Your body is completely well. You are love. You are joy. You are peace. You are peace. In the silence of your higher mind, where you are now, up in that sacred tree, will you say to yourself, I am peace. And let that body that's below you be completely well. Let it be completely well. You're loved. You are blessed. You are safe. You are free. You are free. In your higher mind, please say, I am free. I am free. In a while, you're going to hear the music stop. And when you do, at your own pace, gently, come back to the group. And when you do, bring this self with you. No hurry, but when you come back with this self. My dear friends, thank you so much for being with me tonight. This is our 6th class, so we've been at this for 6 weeks now, and we've grown. We've grown and we've learned, and we're only part way through the book, and I promise you we're only part way through the triangle. This triangle is going to go on for quite a while because I've taught this triangle class in various different ways. I have no idea how many times, but it's in the thousands. And every time I've taught it, I've learned something else. It's bottomless. It's like eternity. It just keeps opening and opening and opening, deeper and deeper and deeper. I want to tell you that in Asia, where I've been teaching most recently, well, actually most recently I've been teaching in Latin America, but in Asia, where I was teaching, there we have big triangles, like 15 feet on each side, taped on the floor with the words all taped down in big plastic encased wrappers. And so the people all take off their shoes and they walk the triangle, and they walk the triangle and they talk about their issue, whatever it is, as they go through. This is my vision. What's my vision? What is it I want to be different than my life? And so in order to get them started on the vision, sometimes I say, and I'll say this to you, if I had a magic wand that I could wave over your head right now and you could have any wish you want right now, that's your vision. Right now, that's your vision. So, so they have their vision, and then they have to decide what their mission is. In other words, what are the steps that'll get me to that vision? What are the steps? You remember that angled process that I showed you, where there was a triangle on each step, and it was upheld by two lines. One was strategies and one was ethics. That's you down at the bottom. That's the vision up at the top, and that's you going through triangle after triangle after triangle to get to your ultimate vision. The people in many parts of Asia felt that unless they walked the triangle 100 times with their vision, it wasn't going to be cemented into their subconscious mind. And they've done amazing things with their lives. They've done amazing things. They've healed terminal diseases. I mean, I didn't do that. They've healed terminal diseases. They've gotten jobs. They've started businesses. They've found relationships. They've gotten married. They've saved their marriages. They've gotten their children out of trouble, out of drugs, out of trouble. Some of them have become famous athletes. Some of them have become famous performers, movie stars. Some of them have become government leaders, and many of them have become very, very wealthy business people. Because that's what they wanted. It was their vision. That's what they needed to do to fulfill their own spiritual karma. And I use a different definition of karma, I know, because the typical thing of karma is that you screwed up in the last lifetime, so you came back this time to pay for it. But I don't know what that is. That sounds more like guilt to me, more like guilt and punishment. Karma just simply means that you have within you a certain destiny, and you must fulfill that destiny. You have certain parts of you that need to be unfolded, unraveled, and laid out and become expressions and experiences. And if you go through this lifetime and you don't do that, well, probably you'll do it in the next lifetime or the next lifetime or the next, and that's your karma. But your spiritual karma unfolds on the triangle. And so, yeah, we're going to be working with the triangle for quite a while, in a lot of different ways and a lot of different angles. And when the church is open, don't be too surprised if we have it taped on the floor and people are walking that in the church. May even have a new carpet made with the triangle in it. So tonight, just to start with, I'd like to ask you to share with me, to share with us your feelings about this chapter, chapter 6, Eros, acceptance, respect, affection, and support, Eros. Your thoughts about that?
Please use the reaction button at the bottom of your screen there so that you can put your hand up if you want to ask or respond to Bob's question, please.
Don't everybody jump on that at once. I mean, you got to stand in line.
Bob, I think this may be in relation to Eris. I have a question in the chat, and they want to know why you chose the name Romancing the Soul for this book.
Really a good idea, a good question. If I had it to do over again, I would have named it something about the triangle. At the time, I don't know if you really understand about channeling very much, or if you know how I channel things, but I do channel things, and I don't really know quite what it is. So when I finished this book, I didn't realize that it was actually that strongly about the triangle. I mean, that may sound kind of strange to you, but I really didn't. I needed something that would talk about the overall message of spirituality coming alive. And I wanted people to know that they have to romance their souls. They have to romance their souls. They have to play music and eat chocolate and walk in flower gardens and hike through the forests and lay on deep grass and watch the clouds go over. You have to romance your soul. To allow your soul to be the child it is. Because the soul doesn't grow old. The soul is always a child. It's like a sweet little girl that wants to be led out to actually touch the leg of a big horse, or maybe get up and ride on it a little bit, or eat the first banana split. The soul needs to be romanced at all ages, And so I wanted this book to be romancing the soul. And like I said, if I had it to do over again, knowing that it was so strongly the triangle, I might have said something about the triangle, but I didn't. And so it is romancing the soul.
So we have Nisa up, Bob, to ask.
Nisa, good evening. You're still muted, dear. There you're unmuted, and then you mute. Here you good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I love the title. I love it. It's like sometimes we need our souls to be romanced for us to be open to the message of this beautiful book. I only just started reading it, and I did read chapter 6, and I was so I don't know, I really felt, I mean, when it said that you were going through that trial period of your friend's death, and that you went through that, it was really, it really touched me. And I was reading about Eris, the steps, and I had a little thing yesterday actually, that I had to stop in at a UPS store to pick up a package because I wasn't home to receive it. And the person ahead of me was taking a very long time, and there was only one person. And so I called out and I said, I'm just here to pick up a package, because I knew it would only take like 1 minute, but he told me to wait. And so I didn't like that. And I felt myself really not liking him. And then when I read later about Eris, I thought, how could I have applied that? And I see how I could, because it's only in the best interest of the world and myself and him and everything, to impart love, not, like, whatever. So that's all. We're always growing, I suppose. But it was just my reaction. I was in a big hurry and I wanted to go, and I didn't want to have to wait.
Thank you for saying that, Nisa, that we're always growing, because boy, I can tell you that's me. I mean, every day I say, well, I can do that better. I have a lesson to learn there. So I read in some of the great books about masters of the East and place where people are quote unquote enlightened. I've been at this for a long, long time, and I've never met anyone who was enlightened. And I know almost all of the top spiritual leaders in the country, in the world, and none of them are enlightened. And I'm sure as hell not enlightened. It's a path. It's not a destination. It's a path. And we just got to keep growing, don't we?
Oh, yes. And the triangle is so strong. So I really have such a high respect, but I do love the title of your book.
Thank you. I so appreciate that. Thank you.
We have Devlin up next.
Anne.
Good evening. I just wanted to thank you for writing this chapter and this book, because this chapter was like, whoa, I was so shocked and I cried, and I was so moved by your vulnerability and for this deep teaching that's grown out of your experiences. And yeah, I was really blown away. So thank you. What you've shared and what you're giving to the world through this book, I think it's, yeah, definitely, past your path and your journey and everyone's growth, and can become part of all of our growth. Something happened this week. I'm in the middle of renovations, and that's why I'm dressed like this. And it's very cold in this room, but it's the most private room, so that's why it's here. And we were having some electrical work done, and you know how hard it is to get an electrician these days, or any kind of trades work done. And yeah, we were having the chandelier put in, but the electrician said, on the phone, can you please make sure that you put in all the crystals and build the whole thing? And I was like, okay, well, I'm kind of busy, but all right, I'll do my best. And it's just this very complicated looking diagram, just one picture. And I had, I have no experience doing stuff like this, but I thought, okay, well, I'll just do my best to be able to put all the crystals in the right places. Took me like hours. and then he came, and I'd never met him before. He was somebody that my contractor introduced us to, came into my house with his cousin, and they were speaking a foreign language, and his English wasn't, perfect, and but we could communicate. And I could tell from looking at his eyes that this is a good person. But I recalled your story in the book where your daughter had kind of made a call on a painter, and she was accurate that he was not really that great of a person. And my son later said, I don't trust those guys. And I was like, oh, okay, well, what happened is apparently while I had left my son in the living room, and he said, well, this is not quite right. You need different kind of light bulb. Can you get some for me? I left the house, ran, like the store is right across the street from me, ran across the street thinking, well, my contractors hired this person. He's bonded, he's probably trustworthy. He's okay. I'll leave him with my son, my 10-year-old in the living room. And I ran across the street thinking, yeah, it's okay. Came back with the light bulbs. And they were yelling at each other in foreign language. And my son was downstairs now. He was out of the scene. And basically, I found out later that they had broken a different light bulb testing something, and they had stopped work and were yelling at my contractor. And then I found out that they were arguing over $50 or something. And basically I said, okay, if it's just $50, you're in my house now, let's get this done. They were just about to leave. They started packing up. I said, please, it's $50. I'll pay it, pay the difference, whatever. Then he did the work, and then they left. I changed the light bulb later to the brighter ones. And then as soon as I touched it, one of the arms fell off, and I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? And then, I thought, oh no, this is right over our dining room table. So unsafe. So of course we couldn't use it. And we were, when he was leaving, he asked if he could use the garden hose. And I thought, oh, that's strange. Why the garden hose? And then said, wash your hands. So I said, okay, well, there's a sink here and a towel here. Please use this. And the look in his eyes was, he was so surprised. And I could tell he wasn't used to being offered these kind of comforts. And I thought, I wonder why, what's his background? But then I thought of the heiress, and I thought, it's funny, like for us living here and growing up here, we just naturally offer these things to each other. Maybe where he's from, that's not normal.
Yeah.
And it made me really think about that. but he was very grateful. And then later on, you know, as he was leaving, I asked for his phone number because I thought, well, maybe I should be able to get a hold of him, and maybe if his work was good, then I could refer him to my friends. And I could tell he was very surprised and very grateful. So yeah, I thought it was kind of funny because then afterwards this happened, because then a couple of days later, then my husband and I were talking, and he said, oh, when is he coming back? And I said, I don't know. My contractor, his dad is sick and he won't be in for a while. And then as soon as we said that, the next day there was a knock on the door, he was back and he fixed everything. And so it was just like instant manifestation. And I thought it's because I was thinking in my heart, I trust him still.
Yes.
And yeah, so I think that's why it all worked out.
And Anne, Eris is really the heart thinking, isn't it? It's really heart messages. Thank you, Anne. I wanted to show you something that this was the first edition of the book, Romancing the Soul. And this first edition is a hardback copy. And you probably noticed that there's quite a few typos and errors and maybe some untoward clauses that show up that don't make sense. That wasn't true in this book. That's in the second edition. So I have to talk to the publisher. But I wanted to just show you that the chapter that you just read about Gary dying, that was acid poured into my soul. But and for 25 or 30 years, it was absolutely the worst thing that ever happened to me. But the work that I'm doing in the world, I wouldn't be doing if it weren't for that. And so in that book, this is the opening page. If you can read that. Here's our book, Gary. So this book was the culmination of the work that I'd done for so many years around the world. And that was spurred by my dear Gary laying there on the ice in the mountains of New Mexico with my bullet in his head, and me doing artificial respiration and trying everything I could to save him. And it's a lot, the story's much longer after that, but my life came to an end on that day. On my 15th birthday, my life came to an end. The good news is that my life started on that 15th birthday. And so who I am today is the result of that. That and other really wonderful and glorious and as well as deeply traumatic things that have happened to me over my lifetime. And so our Sunday sermon this week is about how you can make your greatest challenges into your greatest attributes. And so you see where we're going with that. Anyone else like to
Lori
share?
up next. Bob, Lori's up next.
Hi, Lori.
Hi. I love this chapter, and I read it twice, and then I went on to the next one. I don't know which one I love more, but anyway, the one that really got me was I will never change that which I dislike by rejecting it, but by accepting it. I open the door to new possibilities, ways to make lemon pies. By rejecting it, I am repressing the part of myself that can grow and learn from this situation and become more powerfully creative. And then on the next page, you talk about acceptance equals forgiveness. Duh, I never even thought of that. But this chapter is totally about acceptance. And I just love that. And yeah, and I was taught by this guy, he was a metaphysician, a doctor, and he always said, if you don't like something, a thought or whatever, negative, cancel, reject. Well, that's rejecting. You're not accepting it, right? And then when I have negative thoughts, I go, oh no, I'm having negative thoughts. I'm an awful person, blah, blah, blah. And then I just keep going and going and going. And this is fabulous. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's fabulous. I love it.
Thank you, Lori. God, you know, I've been looking for you for a long time. Thank you. Thank you. So I'd like to just talk about each one of these just for a moment before we go to our breakout rooms. So acceptance. Let's talk about acceptance first. Acceptance is gratitude and forgiveness. It's gratitude and forgiveness. So, I mean, when you think about it, it's got to be that way, doesn't it? We're talking about Gary's death. So I have the opportunity to either reject it by which means that I reject myself because I did it, or accept it. And acceptance means gratitude. Like what is the blessing in that? What good happened to me? How much emotional growth did I get? How much strengthening did I get as a result of that to enable me to go out into the world and do the work that I'm doing? And forgiveness. Can I forgive myself? Can I forgive the adults that didn't pay any attention when Gary and I were out on that day? That could have maybe prevented that by being with us and cautioning us about gun safety, about that when they finally came and they took Gary 60 miles from the mountains to Albuquerque and into the hospital. The sheriff called up to the mountains where I was in the big house where I was staying and had me locked up in a cell, in a solitary cell. That's like 3:00 in the afternoon until 10 o'clock the next morning. It was alone in a cell with the light that never went off and Gary's body. And and then for Mom to give me to that family and to live in Gary's place for, 2.5 years, I could say, that's awful. I hate it. But I am who I am because of that. And when somebody calls me up and they're crying and they're saying, you can't believe what just happened, I can believe what just happened. And I can be there for them because of that. So there's got to be forgiveness of all the people involved and gratitude for everything in my life and for everything in your life. That's acceptance. Acceptance isn't, I wish it were different. And my definition of forgiveness is that when you think, as you're thinking right now of forgiveness, and you're thinking of somebody, or you or someone else that did something that was awful in your life, here's forgiveness. Forgiveness is saying, if I could go back and change it, I would not. If I could go back and change any part of it. My spouse was sleeping with somebody and I found out about it. If I could go back and change it, I would not. Everything that happens to me is for my growth. Everything that happens to me is on the triangle. Everything that happens to me expands me unless I don't accept it. And if I don't accept it, it crushes me. And if I accept it completely, then I can go to the next step, which is to respect it, or to respect that person. To have respect is to have recognition and appreciation. So my respect for you is for me to be able to recognize who you are. Not you, the body, not you, the college graduate, not you, the mother, father, brother, sister, or aunt, or uncle, or grandmother. You, the spiritual light of God, inhabiting a physical body with the brain and trying to make sense out of your life through that so that you spiritually can grow and expand by going through these processes, physical, mental, emotional processes. Gosh, if I can't, I have to be able to, I tell you that if I could if I could know your story, if I could know the nights that you slept, lay awake with tears in your eyes, if I could know the times in your life when you said, it's not worth living, it's just not worth it, I don't even want to go on, and you went on anyway. If I could know the times in your life when you stepped out to help somebody else when you were the one who needed help, I would be kneeling at your feet in honor of you. I have to respect you. You are Holy Spirit incarnate. And I have to, in recognizing you, I have to appreciate you. Completely appreciate you. And when I do that, when I have respect for you, when I have acceptance and respect for you, those are in my mind, aren't they? Those are mental things. Now it's going to get active. The next step is to be affectionate to you, to give you affection. That's when it comes alive. That great old song that even you old people remember, but any of you people that are under 30, just don't pay any attention to what I'm about to say. Touch my hair as you pass my chair. Little things mean a lot. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. That touch to you see, affection means to have an effect on somebody, to affect someone. You living inside of the body, not your body, not your brain or your ears or your genitals, your fingers or hands, but you, the person living inside of the body, to affect someone else, to have an effect on someone else. You can be passing somebody in the supermarket and they've got a scowl on their face and they're looking for Campbell's soup, and you can say, "Hi, how are you doing today? God, I'm so glad you're here," and just walk on, and they're going, "What just happened?" You can have an effect on someone's life, and then they turn and affect someone else's life. And you've just dropped a pebble into the stream and the ripples are going out. Your ripples that you caused. You've all heard those stories, those wonderful stories. There's probably a couple of dozen of them, of someone who touched someone's life and then later found out that that person was on the way to commit suicide or to rob a bank or to do some other terrible thing. And because someone stopped and said, "I care about you," it changed their lives. I must tell you, my dears, because you all are saints and angels. In this class, you're all saints and angels. I must tell you, you have a job to do. It's as simple as that. You have a job to do. You don't have an option. You have to be affecting other people's lives. You don't have an option. You have to be giving people affection. And when you do, then you go to the last word, which is support. And when you go to support, that means that you are giving me your attention and your loyalty. That means that when someone's talking, I'm not just waiting for them to get through so I can talk. I'm not only listening to them, I'm going inside of them and becoming their voice, feeling what it is like for them to be saying that, feeling where that's coming from inside of them. I'm going inside of them and being them and listening to them, listening to the timbre of their voice, listening to them, and more than listening to them, hearing them, hearing them. So when someone's through talking, instead of saying, yeah, because I just wanted to tell you, thank you, but I wanted to tell you that, no, for me to say, wow, whew, thank you for saying that. Man, that's, my friend Joshua always does that, always says, that is so cool. That is so cool, thank you. To just say, to just know that you have been heard. Not just listened to, but heard. So pay attention. And then to be loyal. Like I can tell you not right now, me, Bob Trask, Reverend Bob, your buddy, your brother, I will always and forever be loyal to you. It will never change. It will never change as long as I'm living on this planet. You can always, always, always count on me. Lean on me. Lean on me when you need a friend. You need a bridge over troubled waters. I will be here for you. And that's when we become whole. When we become whole is when we're willing to be in service, complete service to each other, and be loyal. And loyalty means that I'll accept you, I'll respect you, I'll have affection for you, and I'll support you. And that none of that'll change. That's loyalty. That's not going to change. So now we're going to go to our breakout rooms. We have a breakout question for you. And you're going to have 25 minutes. How might Eros bring me a more joyful life? So we were all talking about Eros in our breakout rooms, and we were talking about what Eros actually means. So as you can see here by this slide, and I'm assuming that you can see that, see how there it is. Eros is being one with my universe, isn't it? If I'm in acceptance, respect, affection, and support, then I'm one with my universe. In other words, there's nothing that stands between me and all of the elements of God, which is a rock and a tree and a creek and a flower and a weed and a child and an old man and a dead body going by and a hearse, and all things are God. And when I'm in acceptance, respect, affection, and support, there's no barriers between me and my universe. I'm one with my universe. Or as Jesus liked to say, I and the Father are one. Same thing. Eros is enlightenment because it's a constant path toward the light. And now when you're on the Eros path, the light's shining right in your face, pulling you forward. And lastly, Eros is a 4-letter word, and the 4-letter word is love. There is no thing other than acceptance, respect, affection, and support that really signify the truth of love. And certainly when we were teenagers, we all thought that love, or maybe even to our 20s or maybe even 30s, we all thought that love was this gushy romantic feeling thing that you got. Well, that gushy romantic feeling thing is a mating instinct. As wonderful as it is, and as fun as it is, and as hypnotizing and inebriating as it is still not truly love. Love is acceptance, respect, affection, and support. And when I give it out, those people that I give it out to, hear me, cannot help but give it back. They cannot help but give it back. When I first learned this ARAS, I learned it from a group of old Black women that worked as maids in Oakland, California. And I was a bus driver. And I learned this from them on the bus. They taught me this. They didn't know these words, but they taught me that unless I accepted them, they wouldn't accept me. Unless I respected them, they wouldn't respect me. Unless I have affection for them, they didn't have affection for me. Unless I supported them, they didn't have support for me. And when I was 100% accepting, respecting, having affection for and support for them, then it was there in spades. I was one of them. I was one of them. I just have to tell you, just briefly, when I got to the affection part, these women who had always been kind of real cold to me. I was this little bitty white guy driving this bus and taking these women from West Oakland, and they were all incredibly poor women. And I was taking them across town to work in the rich white people's mansions and then picking them up and bringing them home every night, and working through this, trying to get them to accept me, and then trying to get them to respect me, and always being reminded that first I have to accept them, first I have to respect them. And when it came to affection, it was difficult for me. How would I give affection to them? And so I started saying, and because by now I knew their names, because I hear them talk to each other, and I say, Gladys, is that it? And they'd be coming up onto the bus. I'd say, Gladys, is that a new dress? She'd say, what are you talking about? This old thing? I got this from my grandmother. You get out of here. And but I kept giving that affection, and pretty soon one of them got on the bus and put the sack down, and I said, what's that? She said, that's cookies. Eat that. You're so damn small, you're going to blow away one of these days. We won't have no bus driver. And then she sat down, and these other women really started giving. So you got a little thing for him. Is that what I'm seeing? Sarah, you like a little thing for him? And so, but it was just beautiful. And I'm sure those women have all passed on to glory by now. But wherever you are, just know that you've changed the lives of millions of people around the world because of what you taught this little skinny white guy driving your bus. So it's being one of my universe, it's enlightenment, and it's love. And if you really want to be enlightened, and if you really want your life to start working relative to relationships, check out, in any case, if you're not being accepted, it's because you're not accepting. If you're not being respected, it's because you're not respecting. If you're not being given affection, it's because you're not giving affection. If you're not being supported, it's because you're not being supportive. Now, there are incidences of that where it isn't completely true. Sometimes when kids are going through their teenage years, they're just off. They're in another world, and they don't hear you. They don't, then you just have to be patient and just keep on giving them acceptance, respect, affection, and support until they grow out of their crazies, and then they get their feet back under them, and then it'll be great again. And as you saw in the last part of that chapter, that those parents and those of you who have little kids, or those of you who are grandparents, talk to your kids about their little kids, that they need to reverse this. Sarah, they've got to be able to give support, affection, respect, and acceptance. With the little kids, that's the order it has to be in until they get old enough till you can turn it around. Anybody have any last thoughts? So, that we're going to take a 2-week break now. So, we're going to be back on March 16th. That'll be our next class. On March 8th, as Janet said, we're going to do kind of an evening with Bob, conversations with Bob. And so you please not only come to that on a Zoom, but bring friends. It's going to only be an hour, maybe an hour and a half at the most. And we're just going to chat, and you can ask questions, and we'll just do wonderful things. And then lastly, here's the homework. Read chapter 6 and read chapter 7. Reread chapter 6. Read chapter 7. And be available to teach in the breakout rooms, to teach one of the elements, your choice, one of the elements of Eros: acceptance, respect, affection, or support. So have
Bob,
yourself...
sorry, it's March the 9th is that class, not the 8th.
I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting that. March the 9th. Okay, March the 9th. Wednesday evening, March the 9th. So this will be really an exciting evening.